Hello, cats and kittens, or they will Jose. We're back in the crisis corner, or should I say the creative corner of the crisis corner. And we're going to take a little look at how the sausage is made. The Shonen Double Feature series contains the stories of Lightning Rod, Defender of Crimson, and I've been hyping that up from time to time. Today I want to look at the villains of Lightning Rod. I love making villains. One way or the other, I love making villains. They're the backbone of stories. Yeah, if you don't have a bad guy, you can't have a good guy. So I just want to give you the top 10 villains of Lightning Rod. Which is kind of cool because I really enjoyed making up his villains list. Now, I'm going to give you the top 10, but I'm mainly dealing with villains that I have illustrations already done of. But it's pretty accurate. It's a pretty accurate list in terms of how they would rank in his eyes. Honorable mention would go out to the Fostress. She basically builds her little family unit from discarded, paranormals. She basically collects the discarded paranormals who have nowhere else to go, and on some Oliver Twist type joint, gets them to rob for her and steal for her, but basically maintains that little unit, that little family unit. So there's that. Okay, so honorable mention to the Fostress, honorable mention to Glitch. Glitch is actually a clone of Lightning Rod that didn't work, and he turned into an electric gremlin. He's cool. Honorable mention also goes to Molehill, who is a running gag, who you'll see very soon. Honorable mention also goes to the tuna bomber, who Lightning Rod actually despises because he poisons tuna in an effort to. It's an environmental type thing. He poisons the tuna to get people to stop fishing for tuna, which is killing off dolphins and all that stuff. Which is a huge pain to Lightning Rod because he loves tuna. As you read the series, you'll see that Rodney Lake only eats tuna. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is his favorite food. So honorable mention to him, and one more honorable mention will go to Santa Claus, which is a long story, but we'll leave it there. Alright, so let's get to the list. Coming in at number 10 is Babe Jr. Babe Jr. is the first villain actually seen in the series. He's in the first issue of Lightning Rod, of Shonen Double Feature, and he is the son of the original Babe. He's a criminal. If you are familiar with the Warner Brother cartoons of the 50s and so forth, think of this as Bugs Bunny and Pete Puma. Babe Jr. is not very sharp. He's not extremely intelligent. You would go so far as to say he's stupid. His main goal in life is to rob the First National Bank, which his father had never successfully pulled off. So each time you see him in the book, he's going to be trying to rob the First National Bank. That he will be thwarted, and he will try again. How he gets out of jail, I don't know. He's a running gag. But Babe Jr. comes in at number 10. He's a piece of work. Very powerful, strong. I wouldn't say he's the elite strong, but very strong. And he is not dressed like a blue ox. He is actually a great big dude that seems to have been turned in somehow into a blue ox. So Babe Jr. comes in at number 10. Number 9 would be the Gelatinous Man. Now I'm going old school because I'm going old school Marvel, the Molten Man, the this, that, and the other. When I'm coming up with Rod villains, I go either silly or, just super serious or whatever. Gelatinous Man, let me see, I gotta look up the notes on it. Gelatinous Man is, Professor Manfred Curry experimented with an unknown radioactive isotope, altered the molecular composition of his skin, turning it into a gelatinous husk. Professor Curry is now gelatinous in form and possesses superhuman strength. You can't, you gotta make this up. His body can absorb the impact of most projectile weaponry and rendering him all but bulletproof. He can also he can also withstand falls from up to 30 stories with little injury. So this is old school classic, you know, superhero stuff. You know, you get bit by this, you fall into a radioactive vat of that, whatever. So he's the gelatinous man, and he looks like a gelatinous man, and that's all there is to it. It's just old school nonsense. I love it. Anyway, so you got the gelatinous man coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Venus. Now, I explained to you earlier an honorable mention, the Fostress. The Fostress goes around, I ain't gonna say kidnapping, however you want to put that, these kids and making them her little family, and they go out and rob and steal for her and do all that good stuff. The Venus is the Fostress' main henchman, a henchwoman in this case. She extends the invitations to the little street waifs or whoever to come join their collective, and that's basically where it is. Venus is the Fostress and Venus become villains of Lightning Rod, by extension of another group of kids whom the Fostress wants abducted, and Lightning Rod attempts to defend. Pertinent information on Venus. Her true name is not known. She possesses an especially sharp, cunning, and at times cruel mind for field leadership. Her powers are believed to be physically based, and that she is able to manipulate others, especially but not only males, into doing anything she asks, either out of love, lust for her, or a need to gain her friendship. Venus crosses swords with Lightning Rod when he defends. I'm not gonna get into the name of this little group. He defends this little group from the Fostress. So she's formidable. She's formidable. Okay. Now, climbing up to number 7, we have Golgotha. Golgotha bears explanation in that she is the former assistant to a guy named the Amazing Falcone. The Amazing Falcone is a second generation, well, he's not a second generation criminal. He's the grandson or son of the first Amazing Falcone, who was actually a hero in the first heroic age. He, however, missed the mark and is a down on his luck illusionist who's trying to make it in the entertainment industry, and then at some point figures that, hey, if I can't make it as an illusionist, I'm gonna turn into a criminal and make some money. Again, this is old school stuff, but his thing is he's going to use his abilities as opposed to his grandmother or mother being a hero. He wants to quick cash and he wants to be a criminal. It's as simple as that. So that's number 7. Number 6, we come to Quam. Let me find his notes. Name is unknown. Apparently, the man known as Quam was a scientist. Again, scientist, old school. You gotta make this stuff up. A scientist who failed to save the loved one due to his phobias. Driven mad by the loss, he considers himself a coward. And considering himself a coward, the man begins to experiment on his own mind in an attempt to better understand and eliminate the cause of his irrational fears. Unfortunately, his experiments backfire and cause him to be hypersensitive to the fears of those around him. Living in a state of almost constant fear, he adopts a persona of Quam, master of fear, and sets out on a crusade to expose all would-be heroes as nothing but cowards at heart. You gotta make this stuff up. So Quam is again, a scientist who experiments on himself, Experiments go awry. Classic old school comic stuff. I love it. And then he comes in at number 6. 5 and 4 are interesting because they go to my theory of villainy. I spoke of this in the Celia video. My theory is that every superhero needs 2 types of villains. Ones that they want to fight, and one that they are either afraid to fight or would prefer not to, but they have to. Okay, this brings us to Leviathan. Leviathan is either the most powerful or the second most powerful villain in Rod's Rogues Gallery. He's, I guess you would equate him to like a Hulk type or a Doomsday type in terms of strength level. He's a villain in terms of power scale that Rod cannot beat. He might have an outside chance, but more or less he can't defeat. Alright. If you go the route of the super soldier type deal, where the guy gets experimented on with some super serum and becomes Captain whoever or whatever. In this case, you're dealing with a person who did experiment with a serum, but it was like World War II era or whatever, and it didn't take immediately. Fast forward 50, 60, whatever years later, he's in his declining years, it kicks in. And I did a video on Leviathan. When I had him designed, I wanted him designed as visually unlovable, not just a misunderstood beast that you would say, "Oh, come here, let me give you a hug." No, it's a horrible situation. It's actually a good guy that gets turned into a monster late in life, and Rod actually knows him, because Rod actually tends to hang out with older people because he figures people of his own age group are full of crap due to personal experiences that he's had. I won't get into them right now. So he knows this man, and he wants to save him. He wants to help him get back to whatever semblance of normalcy he can. But to do that, he has to fight him, or at least get him under control some kind of way in this. He'd rather not, because he's terrifying. He's a terrifying monster, and it sets up for a pretty cool scenario in terms of him having to, go to that next level in terms of power and fortitude and bravery and all that to help somebody that he cares for. Next, at number 4, this is the guy that Rod wants to fight. This is a Peter Pan, Captain Hook type setup. Airborne. Airborne is actually the first villain that Lightning Rod actually fights, but you don't see it in the first issue. There's a story arc called Week 1 where we go back and find out how Lightning Rod came to be. And the first villain that he had to fight was Airborne. Airborne is a holdover, not from the first heroic age, but during the age of Guardians when there were no heroes. There was this guy who was running around with his partner. His partner was a genius who would create these exosuits. Airborne would strike terror into whoever and rob and pillage and do whatever they want. They were partners in crime. Okay, at some point, Guardian gets the drop on him. He gets locked up. End of story. Professor Winston, since he's a paranormal, gets sent to the cage, which is where you put paranormal detainees. As you know, or as you would know, if you continue reading not Lightning Rod, Intrepid, the cage, some stuff happens to the cage. Okay. So eventually, Professor Winston is going to get loose, and the two are going to team up again. And he's going to want revenge on the people that sent him up the river. So Airborne, I forget the guy's name. Anyway, he gets back with Professor Winston. they bring a reign of terror on Crimson because that's where he got caught in a famous incident from like 10 years ago, and Rod is there to oppose him. Now, the thing is, Airborne, his first attempt was to get back with the mobs that he used to work for, but they rejected him. So at that point, he's like, oh, so I'm not good enough for you. I'm going to level this whole city and then see what you think about that. Rod is the sworn protector, is a self-proclaimed sworn protector of Crimson, and he's not going to let that happen. Yeah, Galvanizer. Galvanizer would actually fall into the same category as Leviathan in that, no, actually, I would say Galvanizer is interesting because Rod doesn't want to fight Leviathan because he likes the person that he's fighting. Rod doesn't want to fight Galvanizer because he's actually terrified of him. The nuts and bolts of Galvanizer is that he needs an antidote to what he is. And the only way he can get that is from essentially dissecting Lightning Rod. So otherwise, Rod wouldn't want anything to do with him. He wants no part of him. Because A, the dude's insanely strong, and B, I mean, his death ultimately preserves the other guy alive, and he doesn't want to die. So this is a really, really, I mean, it's a bit dark, but it's not as absolutely dark. No, it's pretty dark. So Galvanizer is actually hunting Lightning Rod down. He wants to capture him, dissect him, see what makes him work so that he can save his own skin. And Lightning Rod is essentially running from him. So that's his number 3 villain. The top 2. Number 2 is Mayor A.H. Fury, the mayor of Crimson. He is attempting to modernize Crimson and essentially turn it into another version of New York. Rodney Lake does not want that to happen because he loves the city for what it is. He loves his city. It's not New York. It's quaint. It's big. It's a big city, but it's not what New York is, and he despises New York as it is. So he's basically railing against the modernization of his city, which he puts squarely on the back of this one man who is trying to get reelected, who he would rather not be reelected. So his ultimate goal is to disgrace Mayor Fury and run him out of town, or drive him crazy and run him out of town, or whatever he has to do to get him run out of town. But he hates him, and you can see that in the second issue of Shonen Double Feature gets into that dynamic. He actually believes that he's Hitler reincarnated. Whether he actually believes that or is that some kind of mad delusion, I'm not sure. Rod believes that he's either Hitler himself or Hitler reincarnated or something to that effect, but he takes him to being a fascist lunatic that needs to be gotten rid of. That's just how it is. Number 1 villain. Rod's main villain, at least in his mind, is the Brooklyn Blur. The co-hero of Shonen Double Feature. This bears explaining. In the second wave universe, the Brooklyn Dodgers never left New York. I think it was either the Mets or the Giants or whatever. So there is a long-standing feud between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Crimson Terrapins, which resulted in 2 extremely controversial World Series results. One was like in the 1800s, the other one was in the 50s or something like that. And it has resulted in a bitter feud between the 2 cities, Crimson and New York. Blur and Rod are die-hard baseball fans, die-hard Dodgers and Terrapin fans, and as a result, they despise each other. Eventually, they're going to eventually wind up on the same team, and they'll have to work with each other. Whether they will eventually like each other is a different issue. Whether they'll put their differences aside and work together willingly, we'll see. But that's his top villain. In his mind, is the Brooklyn Blur. Can't stand it. And that completes the Lightning Rod top 10 villain rogues gallery. I can't wait to get into this stuff. So I'm going to try to work up Blur's top 10. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Until then, that's it from the Crisis Corner, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. Stay loose.